Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Generational Sports. As you can see, especially because not just because it's not Connie, but he freaks out if he's not on the left. Like he can't have it if he's not on the left side of the screen. But Connie's on vacation right now, joined by my man CJ. CJ, how we doing?
All is well, brother. Glad to be on. It's been a while. I think it's been about a year or so since I've been on Gen Z, so glad to be back. I know Connie's out, enjoying vacay, but I'm glad to chop it up with you, talk some sports.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to start having more guests on here. We just are so. I mean, neither of us do any of the work before the show until the day of, so it's like we're always too late to plan ahead for it. So we gotta get the guests on more. Clayton, you missed like all the shows, the past like four of them. Where you been, man? But our UFC expert Monique's supposed to be here in a little bit. She's got a bit of a headache right now. But CJ, did you catch the UFC Austin this weekend?
Yeah, I did. It was a great card. Great card.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely one of the best cards of the year. I know UFC London, maybe a few months ago, definitely was up there for me. And, Austin is right there. I mean, Giannis did a great job at Bantamweight. Definitely people comparing him to Jorge. He talked about that in the post fight conference. He's an exciting fighter. I can't wait to see him get some top guys here probably by the end of the year. Kevin Holland, my guy, definitely one of my favorite fighters. Had a good fight against Means at welterweight, 2-0 at welterweight now. He called out Sean Brady, which it's a tough fight. He's a wrestler, but when you look at the top of that division, I mean it's nothing but wrestlers. Kobe, obviously the champ, and Usman. Chimaev as well, also wrestling. So I mean, it's good. It's good practice for him. He's gonna have to work on his ground game. Have to work on getting up. He has that reach advantage at 170, so it could give him some. It could give him an advantage. So he's still young. So I definitely would like to see where he goes forward. But this guy Gregory Rodriguez, pretty much
Mm-hmm.
he beat up Julian Marquez. He beat him up. So he could be a guy in the division that needs some new blood. I know 276 is right around the corner. So I think if he continues to fight well, I know Strickland and Pereira is on that card, so they'll probably be up next. But if he keeps getting some wins together, Rodriguez he could be up there as well in that middleweight contention to try to fight Izzy. So it was a great card. It was fun. It was fun. A lot of knockouts. Dana was giving out a lot of bonuses, so and deservedly so.
Yeah, this was a card like because they usually stack up the cards during the summer. I mean, the pay-per-views that we've already had this first month, and we got a bunch coming. This was a card where I was like, yeah, I'll watch it, but I'm not like getting super excited for it. And I agree, it was one of the best cards like ever. Like just the knockout, spinning. You don't see a spinning elbow knockout
Yeah.
that often. That happened. I mean, and most of the knockouts were so clean too. They weren't all like just TKOs, just a nice knockdown. They were some people got knocked out. And like you said about Kevin Holland, like 3 or 4 fights ago, I think he was fighting Marvin Vittori, and it was like some of the worst grappling and ground game I ever saw from a fighter. And to see his improvement now, I mean, what he's doing, he's because they do that event where it's like just grappling. Like I don't even remember what it's called. It might be UFC Grapple. I think it's
But
it's something.
flow grappling.
Yeah, flow grappling. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kevin Holland was. I watched him do one of those. So he's been putting in the work for that. Uh, and then obviously the main event. Did you think that's what it should have been scored with Emmett and Cater?
It was close. It was close. It was definitely close. I mean, Cater was definitely jabbing him up a little bit. I think Emmett he had some big shots and kind of got Cater off his stance, and I think that probably gave the judges the sway towards Josh. It was definitely a close fight. I felt like Cater won that fifth round. I had a 2-2 going into round five. I thought Cater was much more clean, but it's understandable why. It was like I said, it was a very close fight. Could have went either way. I'm happy for Josh. He's like 37 now, so this is prime opportunity for him to maybe get a title shot. You saw he told Dana, it's I want that title shot. You gotta call it out and get yourself out there. So I think it was a good fight. Cater will be back. I mean, it wasn't like he got dominated. So he could fight one of these other guys. That's right there at the featherweight division. He'll still have a shot.
Yeah, I think in a lot of fights where it's two guys that are very technical and they have similar fights, that first round, the feeling out process, like everyone's upset because it's a slower start as we're joined by Monique.
What's
Uh,
up? What's
how you doing,
good?
Monique?
It's
Good,
good.
good.
All right, we're talking about obviously UFC Austin, talking about Calvin Cater and the Josh Emmett, the split decision, and I was saying that that first round, the feeling out process is kind of so important because I had it 1-1 after two because I just gave that first round to Emmett. I just thought he was a little bit more active than Cater, and that's really all that happened in that round. And then Emmett, I had him up like 3-1 at one point, and then Cater got that fifth round, and that's why I think that that first round is so important because if you're tied the whole rest of the way, whoever the refs, I mean the judges think won that first round could win the whole fight. I think it's the same thing that happened with Rose and I'm blanking on her name. She's the champ, but
Carla.
Esparza, yeah,
yeah,
Esparza, yeah.
Esperanza, yeah. But Monique, what do you think about it? Do you think they got the score correct for the main event?
Yeah, I definitely did. I was disappointed because I had Cater winning, and he's honestly the better fighter in my opinion. And it's just it's so surprising because Josh Emmett was only 5'6", and his reach
Hmm.
was not that like strong as well compared to Calvin Cater. So you would think that Calvin Cater had so many things on his as like an advantage point, but he just wasn't as active. Like Josh Emmett just kept pressuring forward, and that's the reason why he kept winning because in the rounds, especially getting more strikes than him, and he ended up winning the fight. So it was a little bit disappointing for me because I am a Calvin Cater fan. I honestly think he's the better fighter. I think a lot of people would agree with me, but he just didn't perform his best, at the fight. So that's what I think. What did you have any thoughts, CJ, on that fight?
Yeah, I thought it was a close fight. I agree with you and Josh. It was definitely close. I feel like Cater, he's going to be back again. It wasn't to where he got dominated, but that
Yeah.
division is stacked, and we're going to see Vol versus Holloway 3. So that'll probably put the rest. A lot of questions in terms of that little rivalry there. And then just a couple wins more for Calvin. I think Josh is definitely going to get an opportunity to maybe contend for that title as well, and then he'll be right back in the discussion. And then I think Ortega and Yair are supposed to fight also. So that division is loaded, man.
Yeah, what do you guys think about Volk versus Holloway? Because, like, here's the thing. I used to think that Max Holloway was unstoppable, but then all of a sudden, Alexander Volkanovski came into the picture, and now everyone's saying, like, who really is the featherweight king? Is it Alexander Volkanovski? Is it Max Holloway? Like, in my opinion, Volkanovski looks better and better every single time he fights, and that's scary. And just like Josh Emmett, he is what, like 5'5", 5'6". He is very, very short, but he knows how to get in there and just knows how to dominate and pressure people, and especially get into the pocket, which is like so important. What about you, Josh? What do you think about Bulk versus Holloway 3?
I love seeing them fight. I mean, their first two fights, even though Volk's 2-0 against them, I don't think anyone's complaining that we're getting a trilogy fight out of this. I honestly think Max had it. I mean, he could have easily won because one of them went to decision, didn't it? And Max had a
Yeah.
very good chance. Yeah. So I mean, it's not like Max has been dominating all these fights, but I mean, Volkov, I feel like he's one of the more consistently fighting champions too. Like we've seen him a lot recently. The Ortega fight, which I still don't know how he survived those submissions.
It's a great
It's just
fight. Great fight.
yeah, crazy. And then
Hmm.
he comes back not too much later, fights Korean Zombie and looks like
Destroyed him.
untouchable,
Yeah,
untouchable in that fight. I mean, he's climbed the rank. He's number two pound for pound right now, right? Is
Yeah, I
he?
think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that division it's in a weird spot because there are a lot of guys who are very good fighters, but it's like, are we going to put them up against Volkov like
Hmm.
already? Like, so I get why they're doing Holloway again. I'm going to be rooting for Max for sure because I mean
Yeah.
always rooting for the underdog, and Max has always been the guy. But yeah, that division's kind of crazy. Uh, Monique, what did you think about the rest of the fight card?
I thought, well, I like tuned in for like the last few fights of the prelims, but apparently it was amazing. Like Ricardo Ramos with that spinning elbow with that knockout. I saw the highlights. That was really, really fun to watch. I'm jealous I couldn't watch that live. What's called, the girls went at it. I believe. I forgot her last name, but she faced Jasmine, who is a Canadian fighter as well. That was a really good fight. Unfortunately, Jasmine, who is a Canadian fighter who I always root for, didn't win. but the other girl was also very dominant. So what else? What I actually want to talk about the UFC 275 card. If you guys didn't watch that, that was an amazing card. That Whaley, that spinning back elbow like to Juliana was nasty. Like it was.
Crazy.
It's just those two know how to put on a show. It's just so sad that Joanna is retiring, unfortunately, after that fight, which is a little sad because she just came back from that fight. It makes me think about like Max, like coming back after not fighting for it feels like 2 years. Is he gonna have a little bit of ring rust? That's what I think. Because like there is that kind of like myth and that theory that it depends on the fighter, but I think that Max should be okay. He's been training still, this whole time being consistent. What's called? I heard when we were on my show, we were talking about how Anthony Smith was saying how the fight between Yuri and Glover wasn't that technical. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I was just like so dumbfounded. I'm like, are you? The striking was impeccable. The ground and pound, the submissions, especially. How do you say that's not technical? I don't understand these fighters. I swear. And then he like backtracked and said like, oh, from like a jiu-jitsu standpoint because I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm like, come on, man, give us a break. Like those fighters can like whoop your ass like anytime. Like it's Anthony Smith we're talking about. He's not like gonna be a true contender, in my opinion. Like even though he's very lovable by everybody. But what did you guys think about that main event? Did you guys watch it?
Yeah, that fight was amazing. It was amazing back and forth. I thought Glover had it. He was pretty much that fifth round of getting the free. He was tagging Yuri. I thought it was going to be a wrap, and it kind of looked like he got gassed out. He talked about the weight cut after the fight, how that that affected his performance, and he. And then Yuri just came in, went for the kill, went for that that guillotine at the end with like 26 seconds left. So it's a big win. It's a big win, I think. For Anthony Smith, I mean, of course, he's in the division, so he's gonna not give those guys all the credit. And then Glover dominated him during the pandemic, so he got a little bias there. But I think it's set up a great fight for Blachowicz versus Yuri for that title. They're talking about those guys being in Europe, or they might run it back with the rematch. I think either one is great, but that was a great fight. Santos versus Valentina was also a really
that was
fight.
amazing.
Yeah. That was a great fight. I didn't expect it to go that way. Yeah.
Holy shit! Like when Talia got those takedowns, it was like almost a wrap for Valentina. Yeah. That exposed probably one of the biggest holes in her game. Which I know that if they run that back, she is not going to make the same mistakes as Valentina. She's a perfectionist kind of thing, but. I just remember watching it back, and whenever Talia got the takedown, almost got submission, I was like, "Oh, this is crazy, guys! Like, this is the first time Valentina has ever been dominated." Like, Josh, what did you think about that girl fight? Wasn't that crazy?
Yeah, I was shocked because I mean, Valentina for so long, like, even if the opponent had like an edge, maybe on the ground game, she just overpowered everyone. Like, no one could handle her the way that Santos did. So that first takedown attempt. Because I think Santos shot the first time and was able to get her up against the cage like very easily. I was like, wow, we have not seen that in a long time. And I kind of felt towards the end like Santos might take the belt here. Like there's a real chance the judges, because judges love control time and if you got them against the cage, they love that. And Santos had a lot of that in that fight. So I was shocked, and I think they are running it back. They got it right.
Yeah, they have to run that back.
I hope so, because that would be amazing to see that fighting for sure.
Yeah, that division isn't really. I mean, when you could tell us, is it really that competitive right now?
No, there's okay. Here's the thing: there's up and coming fighters like Kareem Silva. Like I said, you guys better watch out for her because she's called Killer.
She had the submission a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, okay, she did, and she was absolutely amazing. If you see her. She screams fighter. If you look at her, she just has like the broad shoulders and then the height and then the power and the muscles and everything. Like this girl is one to watch out for. The flyweights in the Tough show, they're not really that good. I'm gonna say that. Like me and the guys have been really criticizing this season of Tough and how like Juliana Pena is not been like really good of a coach. Like she doesn't really coach much and stuff like that. So like the flyweight fighters there haven't been that great. But yeah, Kareem Silva for sure is probably one of the only flyweights that I would keep my eye on. And then obviously Talia Santos. Like I think a lot of people, whoever betted on Talia Santos, they were very close to winning a lot of money. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Give her a run for her money, that's for sure. And like Valentina, obviously, like she shook it off. Like it was nothing. Obviously, if you ever watch the post-fight interviews and stuff like that, she just like pretended that she wasn't like surprised that what Talia was bringing, but like that definitely surprised me. That gave me some hope that there might be somebody out there that could beat Valentina besides Amanda Nunez, which a lot of people obviously want to see that run back as well. So yeah, there's a lot of fights coming up. There's 10 weeks straight of UFC fights, so we have a lot to look forward to. I'm excited about what's called Izzy versus
Cannonier.
Cannonier, yeah. I'm excited about that because Cannonier looks pretty good. Like, he looks way better than he did before. I think he's going to give Izzy a run for his money, in my opinion. But I still think Izzy's probably going to win. What do you think, CJ?
Yeah, I think he's still going to win. He dominated Brunson. I thought Brunson may have had the advantage in the wrestling aspect, and he pretty much put Brunson out in their fight. I think it's going to be some added motivation as well. Izzy's kind of been calling him out for the last couple of years, calling him the dark horse of the division. But he had to get the W's. He lost to Whitaker, I think, 2 years ago or a year ago, and that kind of set him back there. But he's back. He got the shot now, and I think it's going to be a really good fight. He got some heavy hands. I mean, remember he was a heavyweight or heavyweight or light heavyweight, and now he's a middleweight now, so he still has that power. Izzy, I still think he's probably going to outpoint him and probably win by decision. I don't see it. I'd be shocked if he finished Cannonier, because Cannonier's a tough guy, tough fighter.
Wait, shout out to Anthony Conover, by the way.
I was waiting for. I'm sorry, Connie. Unlike you, I don't interrupt people in the middle of sentences just to bring a comment up. So I think you can wait. All right.
What do you think, Josh? What do you think about Izzy versus Jared Cannonier?
Yeah, I think Cannonier. I mean, we've seen Izzy fight guys who are like good strikers and that are built like guys like Paulo Costa. I mean, even Marvin Vettori had a couple moments in his fight. But I think Cannonier just brings a different kind of like power. Like those guys have power, but Cannonier, like every right hook he's throwing is like a knockout shot. And we saw that a lot against Brunson, where I mean he's a good fighter, but he just from the start he wanted to stay as far away from that right hand as he could. So I think it's going to be interesting. But I mean, the style bender, he's on this crazy run. His only loss came when he tried to become a double champ in the UFC. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. But is that the card O'Malley's on too? Is Sean O'Malley on that card?
Yeah.
Munoz, yeah, that's going to be
that
good
fight
too.
is what I'm really looking forward to that fight, because I think Pedro Munoz presents an opportunity, kind of the way Chito Vera was against Sean O'Malley. I think that's going to be a huge test for O'Malley, because he's finally in the rankings. He's trying to climb up. So I think Munoz is going to be a very good test for him.
Yeah, speaking of people that are huge tests for people, like, okay, so a lot of people are speculating that if Alex Pereira, who everybody knows has beaten Izzy in the past in kickboxing, if he wins against Sean Strickland, they're saying they might bump him up to title shot, which first of all, I disagree, because he just got into the UFC and he got only 2 wins. Okay, fine, you got to win against Bruno Silva, but it's only Bruno Silva. You got to work your way up. Or you haven't even beaten guys like Whitaker, Vettori, Darren Till's coming back. Like, there's just so many guys that are in that division that are like the top tier guys, and like he's just gonna be skyrocketed just because of the story and the narrative that like, oh, this guy beat Izzy like years ago and stuff like that. So that's why they're trying to like make a storyline out of it, and that's why they might make that title shot happen. Do you agree with this, CJ, or do you think that Alex Pereira needs to fight his way up?
I think he should fight his way up, but Dana, and they're going to do us with it. If it makes dollars, it makes sense. And that's a big storyline, because, I mean, Izzy's pretty much, ran through the division, twice now. He beat Vettori twice, he beat Whitaker twice, went through Costa. We haven't seen Costa in a minute. So it's and if he goes through Cannonier, it's like who's next. I mean, it's really everybody beneath him is he's already been through. So it kind of makes sense. But then I also agree where you're coming from, where when you see guys they want to get to that title contention, they have to go through the top guys first before they get to that spot. So it's a tricky situation, and I think it just really just speaks to the how Izzy's dominated the division to where it's like who else should he fight? I mean, he's been through everybody else, so you might have to start going to some of these lower guys he might have to compete with, and the fact that they did fight and he has the win over Adesanya, so it might make sense from a UFC standpoint.
Yeah, Josh, this show should be like who's next in the line or something like that, because we're talking about fighters that are they present problems to these champions, right? So this is one of those things. Do you agree that he should be Alex Pereira should be fighting, his way up there, or do you think this is a good narrative to book, if you're the UFC and you're Dana White?
Yeah, I'm on the train that I think he should get. If he can beat Strickland, I think he should get it. Because, how many fights did Yuri have in the UFC?
That's true. He only had a couple.
Yeah, see, because I think certain guys, like Pereira, him having already beaten Izzy before, he's very experienced, in kickboxing. I know it's only his second fight in the UFC, but I mean, the same way Yuri's second fight was, I can't remember who it was against, but it was an impressive win. He had a spinning elbow knockout.
Dominic Reyes.
Yeah, Dominic Reyes. Yeah, very good fighter. And I think, with Sean Strickland is on a pretty nice run right now too. So I think I had him before this fight got made. I had him getting the next shot after Cannonier, because I think Strickland, the way he's been fighting lately, I think he presents the same opportunity with just this crazy, weird power. He's not afraid to get hit like guys like Costa were. So I think if Pereira can get in there and have an impressive, it's got to be impressive though. So that's where I think it matters. If he goes in there and dominates Strickland somehow, gets a knockout somehow, then I think he gets an opportunity. But I think Strickland's next up after Cannonier, because how many times can we see Whitaker? How many times are we going to see all these guys go against?
Just move up. Just move up at that point. Just go to 205 and just really.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I understand. And the most disappointing thing, I guess, coming from the UFC fights and rap side is that we have what's called Merab versus Jose Aldo or whatever. I'm so disappointed in that fight. Aldo should be fighting someone way higher in the ranks than Merab. I love Merab. I think he's an amazing fighter. Don't get me wrong, guys. But Aldo should be fighting someone up there. But here's the thing: that bantamweight division is stacked to the max. It's always stacked, right? And now we have Aljamain Sterling saying that he doesn't want to fight TJ Dillashaw, and that should be next in line.
I wouldn't either. I don't think TJ obviously he came back and he's fought well at his couple fights since he came back. But I don't think he should be next up either. I think Aldo's he's had kind of a resurgence. He's taken out some guys. I think he took out Munoz, I think, is one of the guys he took out. I think it was Dan Ige he fought after that. And his hands look so quick, he never lost the belt. That's what he's looking like lately. But I'm also just not a big fan of TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah.
So I like
EPO.
EPO, that's right.
I'm just not a fan of him. So, but that division is so stacked. I'm not mad at anyone who gets a fight.
Yeah, I guess my final matchup would just be the obvious one, which is the tough coaches. We have Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunez. Obviously, the first fight that happened, so disappointing. I feel like it's so important now to just be such a good grappler. If we've noticed anything with Rose and Carla, and then obviously Amanda Nunez and Juliana Pena, is that grappling is just so freaking important in this sport. If you don't know how to grapple, wrestle, jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, you can expose so many holes. I feel like that's the reason why Amanda Nunez lost that fight. So she made one mistake, and that costed her belt, Same as Rose and stuff like that. Rose, I think it's a little bit different. That was a little bit closer, but Carla just went in there for the kill. I just think that it's just so important to be so aggressive and to just dominate, and especially like if you have jiu-jitsu and wrestling as your background, I think that will like probably serve you really well in those fights. So what do you think, CJ? Do you think Amanda Nunez is going to make the same mistake, or do you think she's going to get her belt back against Juliana Pena?
Oh man, put me on the spot. Yeah, this is I'm gonna go. I think Nunez gets the belt back. I think she settles down. I think she just tried to really get Pena out of there so quick and kind of got gassed. And also, I mean, you gotta give credit to Juliana as well. I mean, she stood right there in the pocket with Nunez, which a lot of people don't want to do. They're afraid of her power. So she did the cyborg. She put cyborg, to Bellator pretty much. So, so her power is crazy. So she's tough. But I think Pena, if she's she has the right mindset, everybody as soon as she lost, everybody like she had the right mindset, she wasn't into it. So if her mindset is where it was before that fight, she was dominating everybody. I think she should get the belt. She's going to get the belt back.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Josh? Do you think Amanda's going to get her belt back, or do you think Juliana's going to stay champion?
I don't know, because it's like
it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, like Pena could beat her again, and then if they decide to do a third fight, I'd probably still take Amanda Nunez. Like, she's just been so good for so long, and she got caught, in that last fight. And I agree with what you said completely about how important grappling is lately. Because, I mean, just lately, belts changing hands, just having the opportunity and knowing, hey, I could get a submission here. That's how Glover got the belt, and that's how Glover lost the belt. Just knowing your time and place for grappling and getting a submission. And Oliveira, his last 2 defenses come from submission. I mean, it's so important. I mean, fans don't love it as much, unless you're like an actual, like, you enjoy seeing good grappling and stuff like that, because fans just want to see what happened this past Saturday, spinning elbows and knockouts. But I love seeing just like that Yuri guillotine just out of nowhere. Like, Glover, in my opinion, had it locked up and 26 seconds left, and he loses the belt like that. So I completely agree that grappling and just knowing your time and place for that stuff is so important.
Yeah, for sure. And then, like, speaking of grappling, Carla Esparza, who do you think is supposed to be next for her? I think Wei Li should 100% fight for her. Sure. I think that Wei Li, I have a good feeling Wei Li might actually give her a run for her money, because I think Wei Li Zhang, just like every single time she fights, she learns from her mistakes, she gets better, and like she just like was just the old Wei Li Zhang. When I saw her fight against Juliana and like moving forward and pressuring her with those strikes, like that's the Wei Li Zhang that we all like came to love, once she started in the UFC. And I think she's gone back to that, and she's learned from her mistakes in the past. So what do you think, CJ? Do you think Wei Li is next against Carla Esparza?
Definitely. I don't think people are clamoring for the rematch for Esparza Rose 3. I don't think people want to see that. I think it's going to be Wei Li versus Esparza for the belt, and I think Wei Li has a great chance. She's been working on her wrestling. She's working out with Cejudo down there in Arizona, and she's done a really good job. And I think she's going to get the belt back. And then we're probably going to see Wei Li versus Rose 3. So it's going to be crazy.
What did you think, Josh? Do you think Wei Li's next for the belt against Carla?
First, I want to welcome Perry to the stream. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Perry.
What's up, guys?
It's good.
But I definitely think Wei Li needs to get another shot. I wish we could see a rematch of Rose and Esparza, but there's no point in it. No one was. I mean, after 2 rounds, I was like, all right, now somebody's gonna get going. Then the 3rd round goes by. It's like, okay, how do we even judge this fight? Like, who should just vacate the belt? No, neither of them get it. But I think Wei Li gives her the best chance at losing the belt. So I think Wei Li should get it next.
Okay, cool, guys. I think that's all for all of my UFC topics. I don't know if you guys wanted to discuss anything else, but that was pretty much all I had in my mind.
That's good.
They pretty much covered everything. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
Monique, thank you so much for joining us. Plug your socials and your shows if you'd like to.
Okay, cool. My Twitter is @Monique. It's literally my name, so you guys can follow me on Twitter. If you want to, on Thursday nights, if you guys are free, me and the Fights Unwrapped crew, we do our own show at 6:30 Eastern, so you can definitely tune into that. We always talk about UFC headlines and also the fight card. So I know Josh and CJ have been really good fans and really good supporters of that as well. So I thank you guys so much, as well as Perry, obviously. So CJ, you wanted to plug in your socials as well, or are you gonna stick around?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick around, talk some NBA, NFL with Perry and Josh. Yeah.
Sounds good. I have to go to BJJ, guys, but I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, Josh, for having me on the
All
show.
right.
Yeah, thank you so much, Monique.
Thanks, Monique.
What was he saying about BJ's? This shit got wild at the end.
You crazy. You crazy.
Well, what's up, boys? Let's talk
What's
some
up,
football.
man?
Let's talk some basketball. I'm
Sure.
excited to be here. We're much better people on here than Connie. So CJ and us are here just to rock it. But on the real, Connie, I hope you're having a great vacation.
Yeah, I'm jealous of him, man. Out
Yeah,
here
me
in
too,
this
man.
stupid dry weather, he at least gets to be on vacation.
Dude, it's like
but-
100 degrees in Cali right now. Like, not like a what a beautiful day kind of hot. Like, wow,
Yeah.
this is fucked up kind of hot. I mean, I lived in Arizona for 4 years, so this feels like I'm about to go to a business meeting too. So I'm in, button down, long pants, dress shoes. I'm literally, the second I leave this door, I'm going to start crying.
Yeah, that is tough. But NBA wise, obviously, count the bucket. Has probably already done a lot of recapping about the NBA finals. We've talked about it all. And I think the biggest thing that's come out of this really is Steph and his legacy and everything that's kind of followed it. I don't think there's any doubt anymore he's top 10 all time. It's kind of tough to put some other guys over him when you look at his accolades.
Right. I
do you guys agree?
will say it's getting a lot harder to craft a top 10 with how
Yeah.
legacies build on top of legacies, and it's now the years of the NBA continues to expand, because we forget that when Jordan was playing, that was a massive reason why he's so culturally impacted. It's because he helped them get out to other countries and get the NBA more globalized, instead of, obviously not like nowadays where we have someone from a different country winning MVPs every single year in the league, which is great. But at the end of the day too, it's just one of those it's expanded to so many more countries, so many more years. The NBA really wasn't around too long before David Stern's time, so it's definitely getting a lot harder. I'd say yes, for sure. I still don't put him as the number one point guard of all time. Personally, I say Magic, but if you said Steph right now,
my question.
if you said Steph right now, I'm not going to be upset at all, if I'm being honest with you.
CJ, what do you think? Do you think that because obviously he's been closing that gap with Magic, since he's got that third ring, his numbers just keep adding up, the 3-point records. So how close do you think it's there? Steph could be arguably the best point guard ever?
Yeah, I mean, it's you can make the debate for sure. I mean, obviously Magic has one more ring than Steph, and that's going to be in that argument if you want to make the case for Magic Johnson, and also how he transformed the league, him and Larry Bird back in the late 70s, early 80s. So that's going to be a factor. But Steph transformed the league too with the 3-point shot. So he changed the game. And he's a smaller guard as well, 6'3", 6'2". Magic Johnson 6'9", so he has that advantage of being that elite guard. You could put him right there. I mean, right now I probably still have Magic. Perry and I, we talked about that like in the watch party after the Warriors won the finals, but it's definitely close. I mean, really splitting hairs. I mean, what he's done in these last 8 years. First he got healthy. I mean, his first couple of years, dealing with some ankle injuries. That's why you always see him with the braces on. And then once he got right, he's been on a crazy tear these last 8 years, 6 finals appearances, 4 championships, 2 MVPs. So, and now he got the finals MVP. That's what everybody kept talking about. That was the big trophy that he was missing on the case and on the shelf. And
I mean, he got the first ever Kobe Bryant MVP for the All-Star Game 2 in the same season. And he's hitting that. You can't say a damn thing. It's just a historic season for him, and you shed a tear from a sports fan to see a team build the way that they've built within the draft, and very little huge signings that have really changed things beyond KD, and showed now that we've won one before KD, one after, and it's really just kind of like Heat fans say, with their culture and how it's just plug and play and it's Heat culture, whatever. it's the same thing for the Warriors. It's just a dynasty. It's like the Patriots. It didn't matter who they had at running back. If it was Dion Lewis or some random guy they found at Walmart that day that just happened to have a really good physique. Like
Jonas Gray,
yeah.
Exactly. So it's just a testament to that. I think that franchise, but more so also Steph, because we had the We Believe team, but nowhere close to the level of greatness that even the first championship team of the Warriors won. And that's just because of a kid from Davidson. That's really it, and some really good pieces around that. Bob Myers is a gangster. You got to see that with Poole after Draymond, after Clay, after bringing in signings like Iggy and just the right ones always. And now you continue with Kuminga and, like I said, Poole, and Wiseman's just sitting there on the shelf waiting to just get thrown in.
Wait. Yeah.
The Dubs are going to be good for a long time, and that's because Steph's still playing too. If Steph was not playing next year, I'd still actually say the Warriors will still somehow make the playoffs, just because Steve Kerr's that good of a coach. Kind of like with the Raptors after Kawhi left, like they'd still find a way to be that young, gritty team. But can't deny Steph's greatness.
That 2-year hiatus, that 2-year hiatus really helped them. Because like you said, they were able to get some good draft picks.
Yeah,
they were able to get Moody. Get Kuminga, get Wiseman. Usually when you think about a team like the Warriors with the nucleus that they have, like you just said, they don't get those, top picks. So if, Clay being out and Draymond and Steph being out during that 2020 season, it was kind of in a way, a blessing of disguise. So now you got some young guys off the bench that you can help develop. They're going to get more minutes next year. They're going to have a lot more confidence after seeing how to win a championship.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to stop them if they stay healthy.
Poole and Wiggins, because you got those contracts.
Yeah.
And they both realize they want to stay. I would too if I were them.
Of course.
Especially Wiggins, who's just had a tumultuous career in regards to fit with the team, but he's nowhere a bust. He's averaging 20 points a game his whole career, like 4 rebounds. Like he's just not LeBron. I'm sorry. People thought to be LeBron as number 1 pick, but he's no Anthony Bennett. We're not good.
Right.
No
he's like right there in the middle. Yeah, he's like.
Come on, even more than the middle. It's just like from bust. Like he's not a bust. But,
I think expectations kind of play a part in
right.
Though.
But now look,
Jordan,
all-star starter, champion.
He's
now.
Yeah, he's bounced back for sure.
He had a great finals. Great finals, no doubt.
He had probably the most important shot. He was the most important shot. The Boston went on a little bit of a run. There was a 13-point game, and then Jaylen Brown hit a corner 3, got it to 8. And then Wiggins hits a 3 in the corner with like a minute left to push it back up to 11. That really kind of put a seal on the game. But I think, the weird thing about the Steph Magic conversation is their flips, their careers kind of like are on opposite ends. Magic came into the league with Kareem and a lot of help, got the rings early. Yeah. Steph struggled early in his career. Now he's getting the rings. The back end of Magic's career wasn't too great. So they're kind of on opposite ends. So I think the fact that it's so close kind of makes me think when it's all said and done, Steph is going to be the best point guard ever.
It's the same conversation with MJ and LeBron. Like, regardless of bias or whatever that may be, like you look at longevity of a career and you're comparing X years to X years. Like, yeah, the stats are going to be better because that's won rings and all these stuff. You can go talk about that. But when it comes to just personal statistics, like you play 20 years, you're going to have more than someone who probably played 14 or 15 if you're at a similar tier of production, which they both are. So it's really the same thing. Like Magic's career got cut short. Of course, if he had the same problem nowadays, it wouldn't have. But back then, medicine unfortunately wasn't caught up enough to allow him to play a full career without any break or any early retirement or anything like that. He's still one of the most successful men in the entire world. But regardless, Steph doesn't look like he's slowing down. So give him another 3 years, and this isn't even a conversation anymore. God forbid he wins another ring. But even if he doesn't win another ring and he just wins a scoring title and back-to-back all-star games, probably another all-star thing. They're making the playoffs. They're making runs. And then we look back on his career. The statistics aren't even close because he's clearly better. He's already the best three-point shooter in the history of the NBA.
Shit.
It's like in 3 years, it will literally not be a question. I'm a Lakers fan. I'm a Magic fan. But it's literally like, just like LeBron and MJ, at some point, whatever reason that they ended their career early, whatever reasons, I'm not saying it was right or wrong, that does have to come into play. Like someone who played a 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever it may be, longer career than you. That's like double a career, 25% more of a career. You know, to me, that's the most impressive thing is longevity in any league. Granted, doing that as a backup quarterback or like a role player is a different thing. But to be at like the pinnacle of greatness for 20 fucking years or something, unbelievable. I mean, you see, it's not just LeBron and MJ. There's Kobe, you know, all these other guys, Dirk,
Tim Duncan,
Bill Russell. Bill Russell has more championships than certain players even last in the league. He's got that many championships. I think it's like, you know what I mean? That's the pinnacle of greatness is longevity at that level to me. Because anyone can be great for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when we're talking greatest of all time or dynasties, things like that, you know, that is the Warriors. That is Steph. That is these guys that are like not slowing down, still continuing on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely, I agree. I think in the future, it's just not even going to be a debate. But, you know, we're barely into the offseason. We already have some player movement in the league. Obviously, I'm talking about JaMychal Green going to the OKC Thunder. No, I'm kidding. Nobody wants to talk about JaMychal Green.
Yeah, crazy.
But the big trade, and I think it's a big trade. I don't think people are talking about it as much as it's going to impact next season. Christian Wood going to the Dallas Mavericks from the Houston Rockets. Was big. Yeah, and for what they gave up to get him.
A bag of potato chips and a hand job, bro. It was literally
Boban, Sterling Brown, Trey Burke, Marquise Chris. They're all the 26th pick is the most valuable thing the Houston Rockets got in this trade. These are 4 guys that barely touched the court for Dallas in the playoffs. I mean, Trey Burke did a service for them in the bubble a couple years ago, but since then, you know, the rise of Jalen Brunson, he's fallen out of the rotation. Marquise Chris was like a late addition throughout the season. So these are 4 guys that didn't mean anything. I know Houston fans don't love Christian Wood because, I mean, they only love Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. That's
toxic the last like 3 years.
Yeah.
So, into love, like, do you think they love John Wall? You think they love, you know, all these different?
Now,
but it's all been bad, you know. So now I think you'll see people will get a better production, better lifestyle, everything once they leave that situation. But I do think the Rockets are going to rebuild. Like, I think they're heading in the right direction.
For sure.
Yeah, they definitely they've made some good moves. I mean, it's tough because you see a team like Brooklyn give up so many assets for players when they went and got KG and Paul Pierce. They gave up a lot of assets to go get Russell Westbrook from us. So, I mean, it's not like it took them long enough because Kevin Porter Jr., great young guard. Jalen Green, obviously, is going to probably win 4 or 5 scoring titles throughout his career. Şengün, great player too. We haven't got to see what Usman Garuba can be yet, but he's got a ton of potential. And they got the number 3 pick. So, I mean, it's not like this is a move that really kills them, but I love it for Dallas. You know, they got rid of their big man in Porzingis throughout the season, sent him to Washington to get Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie was great for them in the playoffs. You know, they're gonna have to pay Jalen Brunson because that man earned his bag. So he's gonna need a payday. And then now you add Christian Wood to that equation without really giving up too much. CJ, what do you think? Because I like Christian Wood a lot alongside Luka.
He's a good player. Just now the question becomes, you know, he's been a good player on, you know, average teams. You know, he had that really good year with the Pistons. It was he got his name out there. And then he went to Houston where there was some expectations when they kind of, you know, tried to put that little mini solid squad together, and it just obviously didn't work out with all those veterans. So now he's going to a contender. His team, like you just said, they were just in the Western Conference Finals. Everybody's thinking, you know, they need that second guy next to Luka, you know, to kind of take some of the offensive pressure off of him. So with the collection of the other guys that they have on the roster, so it's you know, so a little bit of pressure on him now. He has the mindset for him should be being a great two-way, you know, stretch 4. You know, that would be the role for him. Luka's going to get him. He's going to definitely get more open shots than he's ever had in his career because Luka draws a double team, and we know Luka's a great playmaker. So you know that, you know, his ability to space the floor is you know, essential for them, and that's what they want to do. They love playing 5 out. You know, they had Bertans and Kleber at the 5. That's why they were able to, you know, get advantages on Phoenix and Utah in those series. So, you know, I think it's a great fit. It's just now he's going to be in some, he's going to have some deep playoff runs, and a lot of pressure is going to be on him to step up and have some big moments, especially when we know Luka, we know what he could bring to the table. So now him being that number two guy, we're going to see how he plays.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think
in reality, he has
interesting.
only been in that situation.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Right.
Like, I mean, he's been in only situations where he has a leeway to kind of do whatever he wants. You there, Perry?
Kind of lagging a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but
Can you hear me?
I mean,
dysfunctional situations. He was on the Pistons, the Pelicans. He was on, this last team with the Rockets. It's all been bad. And at the end of the day, now he's finally going to go to a place with some structure. And the Mavericks teams didn't impress me on paper last season. You just said Kleba and, all these different guys. Like, yeah, they're really solid role players. But, to me, Christian Wood is another tier above there in regards to talent. He just hasn't had the right fit and hasn't had the right stability. He's only been in toxic situations. So I think it's only good things for him. And with how far the Mavericks went already the last 2 years, because they've made a pretty deep run, almost beat the Clippers the year before, I think things are looking up for them. And to add guys like Christian Wood, to give up what you gave up to, that's just complete great risk to take from them. And he's going to be a good fit. And if anyone can make anyone play defense, it's Jason Kidd. So I definitely think it's going to be a really good move that helps them to go deep. And they got to keep making moves too. They don't have a first round pick anymore, but they definitely still got to go figure that out. And is Brunson worth the price tag, like you said, Josh? Yeah, he's going to make a bag. He just had a killer run in the playoffs. Is he worth it? We'll see. And if not, they can go spend that money and really cook up a new formula. But I got confident in Jason Kidd. I really think he was a huge reason the Lakers won that bubble championship. And it looked good on Vogel. But the second Jason Kidd left is, when defensive issues came up. And at the end of the day, that also came with the departure of Caruso and things like that. But regardless, I think so far the trend for Jason Kidd, it's followed him his whole coaching career now. And you can see it with the Mavs. They want to play for him. Mark Cuban's a smart owner. I
agree. I think Jason Kidd is a huge part of that Dallas team right now. It's going to be very interesting. They lose their first round pick, but Houston gets another one, and this Thursday, I believe, is the draft. It's Thursday, yes, right? It's Thursday.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Yeah. I'm very nervous because we're in the number 2 slot, and 2 and
12, right?
Yeah, 2 and 12. We had 30, but now we got JaMychal Green. So that's nice. But the 2 spot is a weird spot to be in because history has not done too well for the people who pick second when there's top heavy. It was Hakeem, Sam Bowie, and Mike. So that's not great. It was LeBron.
KD.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's the only thing. Yeah, I mean, Darko Milicic goes between 4 Hall of Famers. But the bright side is the last time we had the number 2 pick, it was Kevin Durant. So I just really hope. What do you guys think about this? I think Jabari's going number 1. I just think that's what Orlando's going to be leading towards. I could see them going Chet, but I think it's either going to be Chet or Jabari 1 to 2. I think that's just the order.
Oh, it's Chet. I think it's Chet for sure. There's no way it's Banchero because he made it pretty clear he no way wants to play in Oklahoma City. And that was pretty clear about that, or live in Oklahoma City, however he worded it. But I think he's already positioned himself to get pushed to 3 because there's no way he makes a run for the number 1 pick.
Right.
Be crazy.
Yeah, I think Chet could go 1. I mean, I think it really depends on what they do with Mo Bamba. I mean, and Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, Wendell. I mean, he's probably, to me, he's always been like a power forward. So he could kind of slide to that 4 spot. He has the relationship with Jalen Suggs. When they, I think he recruited. I think he was his tour guide when he was going to Gonzaga. So I think they have that relationship. You're going to compare that guard big man duo. I think that'd be a great fit for him. But I also would like to see Chet in Oklahoma City too. Him and Josh Giddey, SGA. I think that's a nice young trio right there in the Western Conference. And we know about the young talent in that conference. And I think if you guys are able to get him with his 2-way ability, his ability to put the ball on the floor, space the floor, and we know he can block shots. If he puts some weight on, he could be a force in the NBA. So and I like his upside. I think he's going to have a really good career. And Banchero, I think him on the Rockets, it's a good spot too. I mean, it's a lot of offense. They're going to have to play some defense over there. Those three guys, they're not the best defenders, but if they buy in defensively, with the offensive talent that those three guys have, with KPJ and Jalen Green, I think they can be really good also.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's what really gets interesting because, I mean, the dream for me, I want Chet to go second because I really would love. I mean, I just want Sam Presti to be like, you know what, we got the picks. Let's do something with them. Sign and trade for DeAndre Ayton, Chet at the 4. I mean, that would be a dream come true, something like that. But I think teams like the Hornets are going to give a better offer to Phoenix to try to get Ayton.
I feel like if a trade was going to be made with Ayton involving that signing trade for a top 3 pick, it would have been made by now, or at least it will be within the next few days leading up to the draft. I don't see it happening after this election, personally.
Because, I mean, we got a lot of picks. I'd be okay with giving up 12 and a couple more future firsts. And if Dort has to go to get Ayton, it'd be a tough goodbye, but I'm okay with something like that.
You think Ayton is a needle mover?
Not exactly. I think he makes us a playoff team if we have Chet at the 4. I think if we can find a 3, because, I mean, we got some young guys that could play the 3, but a lineup of SGA, Giddey, let's just say someone like Aaron.
Bays is still there.
Dort can play the 3 in a modern day lineup. Like Dort can definitely play the 3.
Dort or Bays has to go for DA. One of those two are going to have to be in the trade for Ayton.
So, I mean, I'd much rather give up Bazley in the position you guys are in for drafting this year, because you're going to easily draft a big. Bazley's a good player, but in no way do I want him in my starting lineup. I'm sorry. And I feel like, and that should be clear at this point of his career, he's had a few years to show that. So I would personally not want to give up Dort if I were you. To have SGA and Dort there of that fire and ice, and having a guy like Dort to potentially be your Mikal Bridges, your Marcus Smart, however you want to paraphrase it. Like, it's really hard in today's offensive-minded league to get a guy like that who also can stroke it from 3 as well. So I don't know. Dort just is special. I'm obviously a Sun Devil myself, so he holds a particularly special place in my heart. But I just think when I watch him, he's one of the most exciting 3-and-D guys in the league, and he can be an all-star in this league, no doubt about it. I think. I'm not saying he's going to be anytime soon, but I wouldn't be surprised if within the next 2 years he was an all-star and, undeniably a starting 2 or a starting 3 on your team.
The league better hope he doesn't figure out that jumper, because he's slowly getting there.
Yeah,
they better hope he doesn't. They better hope he doesn't fully figure that out, because, I mean, if he's knocking that down. Yeah, that's the biggest issue with them. But CJ, the Knicks picking at 11, to me, this is a pretty deep draft class in terms of potential. There's a few guys that are like play right now, ready guys. Like Jeremy Shohan, he's a guy, I think you put him in New York, he's in their rotation instantly. He's a guy like that. Who are you looking at for New York at 11?
Yeah, looking Shohan from Baylor, like you said, two-way ability. Dyson Daniels as well. A guy that got to be a playmaker at that wing spot. Played in the Ignite. He could be a good spot, or hearing trade rumors. You gotta take everything with a grain of salt, especially before the draft, with all these these quote unquote sources coming out of nowhere, out of the woodworks on who's going where and what team wants to move up. But just looking at what the Kings are doing, I mean, they kind of already have their guards, unless they want to move Fox potentially. They just had 3 guards and got rid of Halliburton and sent him to Indiana. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go draft Ivy. So I think they're definitely fielding some offers for that 4 spot, try to get some more assets for them. And could the Knicks be a suitor? I think it's very possible. Leon Rose, they're keeping everything close to the vest. They're not really leaking any type news. So we'll see what happens. You know, if they trade up to 4, that'd be great. If they stay at 11, I'm cool with that too. I think this draft has a lot of depth, and I think getting one of those guys, maybe Mathur would probably be gone before 11. So yeah, I think a guy like Dyson Daniels, Shohan as well, maybe Johnny Davis from Wisconsin could be a guy. Those would be some options for me for New York at 11.
Yeah,
I agree.
completely
I'd like to see them trade the pick, if I'm being honest with you. I'd love to see them be aggressive and go out and get the likes of a Kyrie or a Donovan Mitchell or someone along those lines and really, really pepper that in along with the young talent they have with Barrett and Robinson and, a lot of Grimes, even some of these guys that came in quickly. So I definitely do feel like I would love to see them go make a splash. And Thibodeau is the type of coach that has definitely hurt this team in a lot of ways with their growth from a young perspective. So take advantage. Go out and get someone that's going to immediately impact the team. And I feel like that, personally. But I think Dyson Daniels is super intriguing too.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of time for it to turn around, but the Cam Reddish to New York trade is, I mean, it's kind of one of the most disappointing. Like it's not a bad trade, but if they just never give him a chance to play, it's then just kind of disappointing, Like you can't just keep signing veterans and thinking it's just going to work out because you got Tibbs and RJ is going to become this star. You got to get him some co-stars that'll be there with them for the long run.
And that's the problem with Tibbs being a head coach of such a young team. It's like that's just not his style. He's even when he was with Chicago. I mean, the only real young guy was Rose. Everybody else were veteran guys, and Rose was just such a superstar. I obviously couldn't keep him off the court. MVP. So Thibodeau, even back in Minnesota, he traded Levine, a young guy, for a veteran, and Jimmy Butler. So that's what he likes. He likes veteran guys. So I just think that the fit doesn't work. You have a young team with a coach that doesn't like young players. So something's got to give. Hopefully, I hope Tibbs goes before the young guys get moved. I want to see, we just talked about the Warriors. We talked about the Celtics were just in the finals. Look at all these dynastic teams. They all build through the draft. So I want us to keep our young guys to see how they develop and see what happens with that. But I'd much rather see what the young guys do on the next. I'm cool with a 2-year rebuild. See what those guys become, as opposed to giving up all your assets for a quote unquote superstar or right now player.
Right.
Yeah, I agree completely. We'll see this Thursday how it all finally turns out. I'm super excited for it. This is one of the more like kind of unpredictable drafts in a while, even though we know who the top 3 guys are. We just don't know how it's going to fold out. But Perry, before you go, well, if you have time, we got a game of over under. If you want to stick around and play that with us.
Sure, I got a minute or so. If you can shoot my opinions first, and then I'll scoot off. But definitely, speaking on the draft, we're doing one on Wednesday. I know hopefully Josh and CJ partake. It'll be very similar to the NFL draft, but I'm going to try and put that on and try and get that going this week. So keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, all it is, I'm gonna give you a player and a season, and then I'll give you like a stat they averaged for that year. You tell me if the stat I gave you is over under what they actually averaged.
Yeah, sure.
All right. A fan favorite, everybody who loves hoops loves, Brandon Roy. In 2008 and 2009 season, over under 24 points a game.
Over.
CJ?
Let's say over as well.
Under. He only averaged 22.6. I was kind of shocked when I saw that. Could have swore he had like a 26, 27 year. One of my favorite, and I picked these players because I saw a tweet of talk about non-Hall of Famer players that you loved. One guy I loved for a little bit, Ty Lawson, man. He had a couple seasons where he was a walking bucket.
It was nice.
2013, 2014. This is kind of a duo. Gave you his points and assists, and they're not like different. Not one's not over, one's not under. They're either both over, both under. 2013, 2014, 16 and 7.
Under.
I'm gonna say under. Yeah.
Man, y'all don't believe in the guy Ty Lawson. He averaged 17 and 8 that year, man. Should have been an all-star. Should have been. He had that Denver team.
Was that on the Nuggets or the Kings?
The Nuggets, yeah.
That was back in the day.
I think Iggy might have not. That was out of the year Iggy.
They had Gallinari.
Yeah, they did have Gallinari. Yeah.
Yeah, remember that team.
Last one, another great player. This is his career points per game for Josh Smith, J. Smooth.
Wow.
Over under career points per game 13.
I gotta go over.
Yeah, I'm saying over.
It is over. It's 14. I thought those last couple of years in Houston and LA might have made it drop, No, but still averaging 14 over his career when he didn't have the
Yeah.
greatest start either.
He was one of the
Those
most
Atlanta
underrated
years.
guys in the league for a while.
Those
Yeah.
Atlanta years carried him.
Yeah, that Atlanta team was fun, man. With Joe
Yeah.
Johnson and Jamal Crawford too. Those
Yeah,
were some
you
fun
got
teams.
Darvin Ham was over there too. Now he's the Lakers coach too, so hopefully he brings some of that fun with him.
We got two more. There wasn't a lot to talk about NFL wise today, and CJ's got the hard count coming up too, so he's going to talk about all that tomorrow. So we got two NFL over unders though, and they're specialized for you guys. We got a Pats player and we got a Cowboys player.
Okay.
All right.
We'll start with the Patriots. Randy Moss, his first year in New England, 2007, over under 1,500 yards.
I'm gonna say over.
Perry, you gonna
I'm
stab this
gonna
one?
go under. I'm gonna go under.
It is just barely under. He had
Let's
1,493.
go.
He almost hit that 1,500. Now
Yes,
his
sir.
touchdowns that season, over under 19 touchdowns that season.
Over. That's he had 23.
Yeah,
Okay.
over.
He did have 23. He did have 23. Now for the Cowboys, Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant, one of my favorite receivers, man. He was a beast for some years. He's a beast.
Sir, throwing up the X.
Yes, sir.
We'll get a better
2014. Yeah. 2014, over under 1,300 yards.
one. I'm gonna go over.
I'm gonna say over. That's 2014, right? That's the catch year.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna say
Just
over.
barely over. Just barely over. He had
Let's go.
1320. He had 1320.
Catch it.
Yeah, he was a great player.
Touchdowns that year. His touchdowns that year. It's the last one. 14 touchdowns, over under.
I'm gonna say under.
I think he had 15. I want to say over.
He had 16 that year. He had 16.
Ooh, all right. I'll go out 1-for-1. That
I have a
guy,
couple more
that
if you
guy can
guys
still
want.
go out and put 50 catches, 700 yards, and 4 touchdowns right now on any team. I have no
Yeah,
doubt
I
about
agree.
it.
I agree completely.
He's a beast.
I have a couple more, but Perry, if you got to go, plug your
do.
socials.
I'm gonna
plug your
dip
socials
out. I'm
in.
sorry to run a little early today, boys, but I'm glad I was able to come on and chat. Perry Aston's really my socials everywhere. So check me out on Twitter, but mainly go to Unwrapped Sports. Go follow that Twitter, Facebook, subscribe to that YouTube. Keep an eye on all the creators that are always constantly putting out shows, just like these two gentlemen above me here. Each have their own shows. Anthony, who's out of town right now, who I'm in for, he's got tons of shows too, and they're all here trying, to really put out some great content on a weekly basis. So go out and show that love and share that to your people on Twitter and wherever else you follow us. So we really do appreciate all that support. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great weekend. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah, appreciate you joining us, Perry. Thank you, man.
Peace out, boys.
Yeah, CJ only got 2 more.
All right.
And then, not too much to talk about in the NFL. We could get into, Tyreek Hill's comments or whatever.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, well, the Tyreek Hill comments, I feel like for me, it's kind of point blank. Like he's going about it wrong, but he's just trying to hype up Tua. Like he's going about it in the weirdest way possible because you don't. It's kind of like what NBA Twitter has a problem with. To praise one player, you don't have to take down another. Like it's okay to praise them both. So I feel like he's trying to show how accurate Tua is, and by doing that, he said Mahomes, he's more accurate than Mahomes and all that. And then he made some other comments. What do you think about the whole situation?
Yeah, he's a great salesman. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job, and I think it's the right thing to do, man. Tua's a young guy. He needs all the confidence in the world. Everyone knows the amount of pressure that's on his shoulders right now, heading into this season. With the amount of talent that they've acquired in that offense, they brought in an offensive-minded head coach and Mike McDaniel. Mike Daniels. I'm sorry. So it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and you got 2 dynamic guys on the outside with Tyreek and Waddle, Gesicki in the seam as well, and they got some pretty good running backs by committee over there as well. So it's a lot of pressure on Tua. He's doing the right thing. Of course, we know Mahomes is, light years better than, Tua Tagovailoa, but, accuracy, the reason why probably the accuracy would be off from Mahomes because he takes more chances because he believes in his arm. And he knows, even if it doesn't get there, he had the elite skill guys in Kelsey and McCole and obviously Cheetah to make those plays for him. So if Tua wants to stay in the league and be a starting quarterback, the accuracy is going to have to be the thing. I know everybody talks about the arm strength and, being a Pats fan, I've been hearing noodle arm. That seems to be like the number one term over the last couple seasons regarding Mac, and then also Tua, even Jalen Hurts with these Alabama quarterbacks. That seems to be the term regarding those guys. So, the arm strength isn't to the level as Herbert, Josh, and Patrick, but those guys have generational type arms. I mean, everybody's not going to have those type of arms. It's really what you do from the neck up. The leadership. See plenty of quarterbacks come and win a bunch of games and didn't have A+ arms, and so Tua is going to have to stay healthy. That's the big issue for him that he's been dealing with since his time in Alabama. And I think if he stays healthy, he has a winning record as a quarterback. I think Daniel's going to put him in the right spot. He's a run first head coach, and that's what you want to do with a young quarterback. You want to run the football and then set everything up with the play action. I think he's going to succeed. Obviously, I don't want him to succeed that much. He's in the same division as my guys, but they're going to have a good season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that just how insanely talented quarterbacks are right now, people want every quarterback to be able to throw it on the run, sprinting towards the sideline, someone breathing down your throat, off your back leg, 60 yards through the air. Like, not everybody could do that. I mean, sometimes these fans forget guys like Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees, even Tony Romo, had a lot of success in this league without being these big home run ball guys. I mean, it's awesome to see guys like Herbert and Allen and Mahomes and Rodgers, but not everybody's like that. And I think Tua, I mean, Alabama basically is, when you get there, you're on an NFL roster talent-wise. Like the running backs and the receivers, your O-line, they're all first, second, third round picks. So, I mean, we've seen Tua have success with fast receivers that you need to get the ball out quick, and it's got to be on the money because their catch radius isn't the same. So we've seen them do it before, but that was also prior to, a couple injuries and turmoil on a team that he didn't really have to experience in Alabama. So I have all the faith in him. I think he's going to be great. I saw him cook the Panthers last year. Him and Waddle went crazy. Waddle went for like 170 against us. It was disgusting, but I think he's got all the talent in the world. But
and then also last point too, just because you have a strong arm quarterback doesn't mean you're gonna win a bunch of Super Bowls. I mean, Mahomes has one, Favre has one, Rodgers has one, Stafford just got his with the Rams. So, I mean, just because you have a, A++ arm doesn't mean you're going to have, all these, you're going to be collecting Super Bowl trophies. Brady, obviously, he's an anomaly. He's out of the discussion when it comes to stuff like that. But, it doesn't mean it's going to – I feel like defenses would rather play guys with the strong arm because, again, like I said, they're going to take chances. Favre, we know him for the touchdowns, but we also know him for the interceptions. And those defensive guys, they want to make plays, and if you have an opportunistic defense, it could hurt those strong arm quarterbacks as well because their ego get to them instead of making the right read.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the NFL. You get one Super Bowl. I mean, you've reached the mountaintop that a lot of guys never get to see. I mean, Dan Marino is one of the most talented players to ever play in the league, and he doesn't have one. So I mean, it's so much that goes into it that you're 100% right. The arm doesn't mean everything. But this offseason's been kind of crazy, too. I mean, so many moves happening. You got people getting 230 guaranteed. You got the hundreds going to wide receivers, going to new teams. What teams do you think had the best offseason? Like, obviously, there are teams that, improved, got some superstar names. But who do you think, had the best overall improvement over the offseason?
I like what Vegas did. I mean, they reassured their guys. They re-signed Crosby to an extension. Same thing for Carr. And then you get the big chess move and getting Devontae Adams, top 2 receiver in the league, him and Cup, however you want to debate that. We get beer for days, depending on what side of the coin you're on. But top guy, one of the best in the league. And Devontae, he has a great relationship with Carr from their college days at Fresno State. So it's just that division is stacked. Hunter Renfrow, one of the best route runners in the NFL. Waller, one of the best tight ends. Josh Jacobs, even though he's not going to be the bell cow, that's what they're saying, but he's still going to be a really good running back for them. And Josh McDaniels, again, all the pressure's on that guy. He has a great team in front of him, so we'll see how he is as a play caller after not being an OC for the last decade. up here in New England. So I think I look at Vegas, Denver too. I mean, Denver. I mean, you get Russell Wilson, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You want to make those moves. Really, you want to say AFC West, the entire AFC West. if we're being honest, I mean, they just the moves those teams made. Chargers as well, getting J.C. Jackson, Khalil Mack. Re-signing Mike Williams. Keenan Allen. Man, that division. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, that's going to be the most interesting watch division ever, really.
Has a division ever had like all 4 teams win 10 plus? Because like it's gonna be tough to happen since they had to play each other twice. But I mean, they all split the series. I don't see them losing too many games outside the division.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's gonna come down to situational football. I know I sounded like a young Belichick here, but that's what it's gonna come down to. It's gonna come down to these quarterbacks and what they do situationally. And those close games, even though they might split the series, they might split the division. Everybody could go 1-1, but sometimes that maybe a loss or two there in that division could sway the standings in the AFC. So I'd be shocked if all 4 get in. I don't even think that's possible. It's not possible because you get 4 division winners. Yeah. So somebody's going to be missing out, and you're banking on the rest of the AFC just completely being ass. So
which it rarely is.
It rarely is, right? Because you got Lamar coming back in Baltimore.
He's still there.
She's still
there.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with this guy over there, and then up there in Cleveland, and the Bengals were just in the Super Bowl. So
yeah.
AFC is loaded. I think I talked about this with Connie too. I mean, we're in an elite era right now, quarterbacks. This is something special. We haven't really seen this. We saw Peyton and Tom really dominate the NFL for the last 20 years. Now I think it's the parity is endless, and I think we're going to see who's going to be the best in this era, and it's going to be exciting to watch. I really can't wait.
Yeah, there's really not too many teams because obviously it's a quarterback-driven league right now. You have a good quarterback. We see it with Green Bay every year. You have a good quarterback, you can go far in the playoffs every season. Not too many teams that don't have great quarterbacks. I mean, I wish I could say my team wasn't in that part, but unfortunately, who knows? Who knows? Sam Darnold still young, He's only 25.
Yeah, it's man. I mean, I would just wait.
Team, though.
I would try to get CJ Stroud or Bryce. That's what I would do. Yeah. I mean, I know Tapper is he's a guy that wants to win now. Makes a lot of money, but in the NFL, these businesses, it's different than these owners. They think they're going to get the bag, like how they got the bag in their previous line of work. Football is different, man. You're relying on 93 players, 30 some odd coaches. You got to get lucky with the GMs and scouts. Like it's a different type of field of work, man. So I would just stay patient, Panther. I'll just stay patient, and I just got to get it. If you get that right guy, I mean, that division is there. I mean, Brady's not going to be there for long. So, you get the right guy in the center, you could definitely make some noise in that division for sure.
Yeah, me and Connie did our record prediction, and he said, I mean, you don't have too much faith in the Patriots this season coming up.
He doesn't. I got us going 10-7 again.
Okay. See, he had them winning 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, he was dropping at the 6. At first he said 7. At first he said 6, and I was like, then I put some logic out there. He's like, all right, 7 and 10. I'm like, bro, I'm confident. I'm gonna be confident with my guys. I think Mac in year 2. I think the offense, the skill positions, is it what we're seeing with some of these other teams in the AFC? Of course not. But we've never really seen outside of these, like you talking about the Randy Moss over under. That's about the last time we saw an elite guy come to the ring. Yeah. So it's really going to come down to Mac. I mean, is he that guy? Can he become a top 8, top 9 quarterback? That obviously remains to be seen, and that's going to determine whether or not how far that team goes. But I think with Bill coaching, we'll see who the OC is.
Patricia.
Patricia, yeah.
Oh, that's a tough spot.
Yeah, it is. It is a tough spot. It definitely is.
Let Matt call the plays.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have a lot of say in the play calling, which I think is good. I think it's good for a young guy. But we'll see what happens. I'm still riding 10-7. Obviously, Buffalo is creaming the crop right now in that division.
Yeah, tough divisions. We got two more over unders, and then we'll get out of here.
Right.
We got this one was going to be for the Cowboys prepared too, but he had to leave early. Dak Prescott in 2018. He's had some good years. He's had some really good years. Over under 4,000 yards that season.
2018.
And he played all 16. He wasn't injured.
Played all 16. I'm gonna say under.
It is under. He had 3,885. And it's crazy how the following year, 2019, he finished with like 4,500 yards. I mean, the Cowboys just instantly were like, you know what, just let Dak do everything. Well, Zeke can't do it anymore.
Yeah, he got to get healthy.
His touchdowns that season, over under 20.
I'm gonna say over.
He had 22 touchdowns that year, 22 of them. And then Tom Brady. I mean, how many amazing – I've done Tom Brady multiple times on over-under because he just has different seasons where it's like, wow, he threw at that completion percentage. He threw that many touchdowns. But going to his last season in New England, 2019, over-under 4,200 yards.
4,200. Started off 8-0. Then they kind of backtrack on the second half of the season. I'm gonna say under.
Under 4,057. That's what he finished with. His touchdowns.
Nobody was throwing the ball to Harry and one-legged Edelman.
Yeah, that was a tough year. That was tough.
Season.
Who's tight? Was Gronk even there? Was he out?
Scott Chandler, bro.
Yeah, Scott Chandler. That too.
That Lacoste, like it was bad, bro.
And everyone was shocked when Tennessee won. It's like, did you see the roster? Like
insane.
His touchdowns that year, over under 22.
I'm gonna say over. Yeah.
It is over. He had 24. You did better than Connie does at these. Connie sucks at the over-unders. Because he always tries to scheme me. He's like, you just went over the last one, so why would you go over again? But I'm like, dude, I don't do it like that. I just flip-flop them. But that's it, CJ. If you want to plug your socials and your shows, go ahead.
Sir Garda podcast covering all things NBA. Count the Bucket also covering all things NBA. That's on Sundays, 9:30 Eastern. Covering with Nick Andre, Michael Lawson. The hard count on Tuesdays actually won't be going live tomorrow, guys. Also be out. We'll be back next week. Connie comes back covering all things NFL. That's at Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. And also you can follow me right there on Twitter at cjames9_ and at Garda Pod on IG. And thanks for having me, man. Glad to be back on Gen Z.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have to have you back on again with Connie on here too. But as for me, follow me on Twitter at Jolin_4. Make sure if you haven't already, head over to Underdog. They're already doing something crazy over half a yard for Matt Stafford to throw this season. You can go ahead and throw it into a parlay over there. Go over there, use code Gen Z, double your first deposit up to $100. Make sure you tune in next Monday, 7 Eastern, and we'll see you guys then.